Hello everyone, and welcome to Karaz. The big feature of Karaz Beta 2 is the brush system. It is a robust system with support for tablet and stylus features like pressure and tilt. There are two main areas where you can change the brush properties. Make sure you are on the brush tool, and you can find the first on the right. Here you can change the basics like the size and the color. Remember, when you don't know what something does, hover over it. That includes the brush tool icon to see the shortcuts. For the second area, click on the brush preview image and the brush properties dialog will appear. On the left of the dialog, you can see the properties of the brush that you can edit. For example, let's say you want to change the size of the brush. Click on it. You'll find basic properties like the amount, which affects the base size of the brush, the variation, which adds a random variation to the size of the brush as you brush, and the frequency of the variation. High for jittery, chaotic variation, low for smooth, slow variation. A tip is if you leave the frequency at 0, you will get random constant brush size for each stroke. Down here we see the brush drivers. Brush drivers are dynamic actions that affect the brush, like pressure, tilt, and angle of the stylus if you use a tablet, or the distance the brush has traveled. For example, if we add pressure as a driver for the opacity, if I press the stylus slightly on the tablet, the opacity is low, and the stronger I press, the stronger the brush is. Each driver has its own curve. Y-axis is for the strength of the effect, opacity in this case, and X-axis is the driver value, the pressure in this case. You can adjust it to your liking. So, let's say you don't like that you need to press so hard to get the strong brush. You can move the top right point to the middle. Now you only need to press half as hard to reach the max effect. If you find the lowest pressure is too low, you can raise the bottom left point, and so on. Okay, let's see how to make some brushes. We'll start with a brush that looks like a pencil sketch. If you zoom in on a pencil sketch, you will find that the lines are basically soft gray noise areas where the lid is, and some gaps inside of them. Recreating this effect should be simple enough. We'll create the noise, then fill it with gaps. Let's start with the gray noise. 512 by 512 is fine for this example. Make it Berlin noise. Berlin is very versatile noise. You can change how soft or rough the noise is by changing the complexity and harshness. If that is not rough enough for you, you can also decrease the noise size. Now it's starting to resemble a sketch pattern. Now to get both the gray color and the gap, we'll use a gradient. The gradient basically takes the image and takes a gradient that you can define and maps the image by value to the gradient. So for this one, we are going to use a grayscale brush. Will white become transparent and black will be the brush itself. An important thing to note is that how rough the brush will be depends on the gaps to lid ratio. The more gaps, the rougher the brush is. The less gaps, the softer the brush is. Of course you can and should make multiple pencil brushes, each with a different roughness. I'm happy with this. And now we have our holy noise. Press Ctrl R to make a new image node from the canvas. Now pick a white brush and make it a bit sharper, but still has some softness. Now brush over the edges. The final shape of the brush does not matter that much. You'll see soon why. Just make sure there are no sharp edges and no obvious corners. You can of course make a perfect circle with the shape tool, but I find these hand-done uneven edges with the brush gives a better, more organic looking brushes at the end. Now we are done with the brush image. Make sure it is the image displayed in the canvas. Then click on the preview image to open the brush property dialog. Pick image, then click Get Grayscale. This will take the image currently displayed on the canvas and turn it into a brush where white will become transparent and black will be the brush. Let's test our new brush. Yeah, we're definitely not done yet. Let's go to both the size and the opacity and make the amount a fraction. Much better. You can see the brush is a bit too uniform. So go to the rotation and increase the variation and frequency to the max, which will give it a more chaotic feel. That is why the shape of the brush does not matter, as you really can't see the individual brush. They will merge together pretty nicely. For an even rougher and noisier brush, you can go to General and change the interpolation to nearest neighbor. We are almost done. If you have a tablet, you can add a pressure driver to the opacity. And now the harder you press the stylus, the darker the brush is. Always remember that a key to making a good brush is experimentation. Even the simplest of shapes can make unexpected and interesting brushes. Thank you for watching, and please enjoy using Karaz.